Hey, so I want to make a quick announcement, if I could. Remember several weeks ago, we had a conversation about Afghanistan, and you met a couple of people. You met Maliha, I think, and maybe Mr. Rashidi, who are in the Netherlands and Belgium. And well, it turns out I am definitely going over there at the end of May to see them. And if you remember, I asked if anybody had a used laptop or even a used phone that's unlocked. Can't be super old, but doesn't have to be brand new or one generation back. But if you do, let me know. There are a lot of refugees there, and these things are really expensive. And I'm going to take some stuff. I'm taking over some computers and so on. So I know somebody dropped off one laptop at least. So. And I appreciate that. So if you have something, definitely will get used for the kids. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing. So today's class, I'm calling it Body Fluid. That's a really creative title, by the way. I think Body Fluid. It's something about fluidity. I just want to talk about the fluidity of these categories that we are often talking about, and in particular. I want to talk about biology and sociology, and we're going to talk about gender and sex today. But still, I want to just say a few things so that we kind of put a few things in perspective. And the issue is, we want to really try to. What's at stake here in a way is. How much does biology influence who we are and what we do and what we're capable of, both physically and mentally and psychologically? And how much of it is sociology or just like our inner spirit? How much of it is the interests that we have or what I like to do or what I'm good at? How much is it just my body type and who I am and how I'm built, and versus how much it is how I'm socialized and what I've been socialized to like and enjoy. And this sort of thing. Like I'm a drummer, right? And I really kind of took very naturally to the drums when I was very young. And how much of that is just genetic? How much did it just like inside of me do I have a sense of rhythm, even though I am a white man? But have that kind of sense, and how much of it is just I just practiced, and for whatever reason, I just caught a groove and I did what I needed to do. So these kinds of things. And so if we could go to the... I want to just a couple things here about race, and I just want to hit race before we go to gender, because I want to give you a sense of this. When I look at this class and I see just so many different faces and body types and body features that are very different, and I'm thinking, wow, it's really fascinating that there are all these differences, and the tendency is to want to put you all together in particular groups, and then give you a name, give you a label, like, oh, here are all the European people or the white people, and here are all the people of African ancestry or the black people, and here are the Asians, and here are Native Americans, or whatever it is. However I want to do that, but the tendency is to want to try to put people who have similar features in groups and then give a name to it and say, okay, there's a race, and over here is another race, and then over here is another race or a race group, right? And the problem with that is that we're 99.9% the same in terms of our genetics, and nature in a way is a trickster, and it plays a trick on us because a very small percentage of our genes. Our markers are actually associated with our external features, a very small number. So that you have these very few genes that make us look really different. But, bro, can you stand up really fast? So, what's your name? George. This is George. So if you look at me, you look at George, like you think, oh, here are these two people, and we're very different groups, right? Different parts of the world. Where are you from, bro? What's your background? Egypt? Okay, so George is Egyptian. Both parents? Okay, so both parents are from Egypt. So okay, here's this Middle Eastern guy, and then you look at me, And you think, oh, you're two different groups, two different races. But the fact is, a very small percentage of our DNA, our markers, are connected to our external features, like his nose, his eyes, his skin, his hair, my nose, my eyes, skin, hair. So it's like, wait, hang on. Nature's playing a trick because you think, oh, you must be really, really different because look at how different we are. So you must be really different, but we're not different. We're basically the same. It's a very tiny number of markers, you see. So it's that trickster thing. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it, man. So, and in terms of men and women share about 98.4% of our DNA. Okay, so you see this. It's really fascinating. So there's this way in which human beings are out trying to build and identify and create these racial groups that make no sense. Because if you go to Africa and you start in Egypt, and you just wander through Africa and you end up down in South Africa, you're going to see so many different people, so many different physical body types. It's just like, it's same with Europe, right? Same with Asia. Like I'm looking at different people of Asian ancestry in class, and I'm like, y'all are so different. And I know you're from different countries, and I know you're from different ethnicities and cultures and groups. And so when you start paying attention, you really see these things. Okay, but having said that, there are a few questions that we have, right? Why is it that the NBA has so many black players? That's one of the all-star teams from a few years ago. In the NHL, the hockey league, National Hockey League, has so many white players. How much of that is biology and how much of it is sociology? And I'm not going to answer those questions today because we're not going to talk about, that's not the source of the conversation. But these are questions all the time. Like, what is it? So what is it about black people of African ancestry that lead them toward basketball? And what is it about people of European ancestry that sort of motivates them toward hockey? Like, what is that? How is that? How much of that is just pure sociology? And how much of it, to what degree does DNA enter into it? And I will say at the outset, in this particular case, DNA, not very much, because if you're a world-class hockey player, you probably could be a world-class basketball athlete, really, because you're a world-class athlete, man. You could go one direction or another. Or look here, why is it that when we look at sprint running, we see people of West African origin? Why? This is the finals of different Olympics. Like, why is that? How do you see that? Like, how do we make sense of that? Right? Why aren't there more white people? Why aren't there people of Asian ancestry in the finals? Several years ago, there was some Chinese guy. But but why not more? Like, what's the question? How much of it is sociology? How much of it is biology? Most of it, by the way, is sociology. But in some things, biology will play a role into it a little bit. Tiny amounts. So you're not going to see, for example, people in the finals who are really short in stature, whose ancestry, who come from a region of the world where the dominant average body type is short legs and a longer torso and shorter legs. You generally aren't going to see that. Like, they might run really fast, but they're not going to compete with people who are taller and have longer legs and shorter torsos. On average, you're not going to be able to compete very well. And so, okay, so there's a little bit of that. Go to the next one. And so here are these are distant runners. It's all, and it's like Kenya and Ethiopia and Somalia. But you go to Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia, I will guarantee that everybody in their countries, almost everybody knows what their names are, knows the names of these runners right here. And you wouldn't have the slightest idea. If I said, who won the Boston Marathon? Who's the fastest marathon runner in the United States? Does anybody know? Anyone? Do you know? So we have one person. Anybody else? How about the you don't know, because we don't care about that here. It doesn't matter. So therefore, you go to Kenya, you go to Ethiopia. Little kids are just, their dream is to be a marathon runner. And here it's not, we don't care. Who has a dream of being I want to go to the Olympics and win the marathon competition. Come on. a few people have that, but it's like if the winner goes home, they're like met at the airport by 10,000 people. You know what I mean? If you win the Boston Marathon and you're from Kenya, you go to the airport, there's going to be like 10,000 people there waiting for you. Here, they wouldn't even know your name. You could carry a flag around and people would be like, oh, whatever. Okay, next one. So that's sociology. This is, you got two Chinese, so everyone's in the short hair here. So these are two Chinese women on the left and a Singapore woman on the right. This is table tennis. These are the champions in table tennis. So it's like, yeah, because people in China and Taiwan and Korea and Singapore are really into table tennis, and here we're not. So like, of course you got champions there because that's what they're socialized to do. You see what I mean? So you can't say like, well, they have a good body type because they do that. No, they're socialized to do that. Okay, you learn it from early on. And so with this in mind, I have this idea to switch to gender now, and I've been watching this case of Leah Thomas, who's the trans woman who was a swimmer, a competitive swimmer as a man, and became a trans woman, or now became a woman. I'm going to say trans because, transitioned, and is now competing as a woman. And it's big news. It's huge news. And so all semester I've been kind of watching this to say, what is this about? And how do I make sense of this? And what do I think of this? That I, one day as a man, I'm competing on an athletic field with other men. And then at some point, I transition over, and then a couple years later, I'm competing with women. And how is that? And how do we make sense of that? And what's fair and what's not fair, and how should it be and how should it not be? And so for me, I decided kind of at the beginning of the semester, I got to really figure this out. Like I really, really want to explore. And one of the beautiful things about a class like this, and the reason I keep teaching, is because it just motivates me to keep just digging into issues to learn more and more about what's actually happening, not the rhetoric, not the opinion pieces, but actually what really is happening. Try to figure out the science behind things. And then in knowing, of course, that I'm speaking to a large group of people, I can't be an idiot. I mean, I'm often an idiot, at least accidentally, but I don't want to say really dumb things, and so I have to really try to be pretty smart about this and thoughtful and try to say something like I don't have the answer, so I don't want to persuade anyone to think one thing or another because I don't know. These things are incredibly complex. But as it turns out, we have someone in class who's on the Penn State swim team. And so Kate, come on. And this is Kate Sheridan, folks. Kate. All right. You gotta get applause on a swim team. If you were on the football team, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's Kate." All right, okay. So Kate, how are you? Thanks for.
I'm good.
So I asked you early in the semester, right? I said, "Hey, what do you think about Leah Thomas?"
Yeah.
Hold the mic close.
Sorry.
And I said, "Hey, would you want to talk in class one day?"
Mm-hmm.
And you said, "All right."
Yeah.
But you were reticent about it.
Very.
Why is that?
It's a very sensitive topic with a lot of different opinions, and I don't know. I didn't want to offend anyone.
Okay. So you can, if you want to be as comfortable as you can, because it is sensitive, you can sit on the table if you want, or you can, however you want to be. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Yeah, so what makes it sensitive? Like, what's your sense of things?
I feel like a lot of what can be said can be taken out of context or interpreted in ways that aren't meant to be, and people get offended, and that can cause a lot of tension and problems. So
one of the, and I'm in agreement with that. So one of the issues, and we're going to talk about this, by the way, in a second. It's really awesome having you in class because you're going to help to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give the class my thought. I'm going to say what I think I know, what I have learned about this, and it's going to include some things about swimmers. And you're like, you're a world-class swimmer. I mean, you're at a Big Ten school, right? So I know you're, okay. Got it. You're at a Big Ten school. Like, you're a really super hyper-competitive swimmer, right? Okay. So what I would like for you to do, I'm going to walk through a lot of this, and I'd like you to just kind of just yay, nay, whatever, weigh in on some things that I'm going to say, okay? So, because what my intention is for the class, when you see this issue with Leah Thomas, when people see this, an article or here or there, most people aren't going to do the kind of research that you really need to do to figure it out. But people are going to go past it, and then most likely people are just going to grab the issue of whatever it is, or the opinion of whatever it is that the person's writing. If they're pro, they grab the pro opinion. If they're against, and so like I want to try to do between you and I want to try to have a conversation that helps to clarify what I think the issues are, so you can be really helpful. So one of the things that I think is really important is that, we have in the past number of years, we have really expanded or embraced the rights of people who are trans and people who are non-binary and people who are prefer to use and feel more comfortable using and like they them pronouns, for example. And so Leah Thomas is a person who, by all accounts has said, hey, I'm now coming out of the closet in a different way. I'm going to transition. And as a society, we have gotten to the place where we are saying, hey, this is okay. And most people increasingly are saying, that's fine. The opinion is, that's fine. It's great. You have the right to transition, and you have the right to be you, and great. So you were Leah Thomas, you were a man, and now you're a woman, and we'll accept you as that. But it's not as simple as, okay, so now which bathroom do you use? Because Leah Thomas is a top competitive swimmer. And so Leah Thomas then has the ability, wants to keep swimming. And Leah Thomas, who as a man swam very competitively at the University of Pennsylvania as a man, and is swimming as a woman, and is going to also be really competitive. And so the question is, how do we manage that? Like, how do we manage? And so what's the issue of fairness that people are talking about from your perspective? What are you hearing?
A lot of it is of the fact of that Leah went from being kind of one of the many of the swimmers to being in the female, like the top swimmer. So many of her races, she's finishing well ahead of everyone. And many people are attributing that to the fact of the testosterone level in her body and how her body type as how testosterone affects the body in a man. It has many differences in women, and so that's causing a lot of unfairness in the playing field. There's no equality there.
So the idea is, hey, if you want to swim as a woman, we're gonna tie a drag. We're gonna put a 2.5 pound weight on your ankles or something, right? You just can't do that. So that would be like somebody well, not me, but imagine somebody who is really swimming as a man and not having that weight, and then swimming against people who on average aren't going to be able to compete with you. There's a certain unfairness, right? Okay, so here, let me look. So here's what I've discovered about. This makes for a great swimmer, right? You want to have greater height, right? So stand up really fast. So women, top competitor. So you're again. I'm going to call you a competitive. I mean, you're. I know. I mean, okay. What should I say? Because I said world class, and you were kind of like, eh. Because that means something else in your world.
Well, when I think world class, I'm thinking people who get to the Olympics and that kind of thing.
Okay.
I say I'm a collegiate athlete. I consider that to be a good level.
But in the swimming world, not many women swimmers make it to a Big Ten university, right? I mean, like,
It's very competitive, yes.
very competitive. Okay,
Yes.
okay, so you're really a top swimmer. So you're, on average, people who make it to your level are going to be 5 inches, as a woman, you're 5 inches taller than the average woman, okay? And you're tall, right? How tall are you?
About 5'10".
Okay, and I'm 5'11". Okay, so, all right. And you're going to have, okay, you're going to have a larger wingspan. Like, is your wingspan large? Yeah. Yeah, okay. But this is key, right? Because it's not just how tall you are that determines your wingspan. There are a lot of things. You could just have a freakishly wide wingspan. You probably know people like that.
Yes.
Like we call them knuckles. Like their knuckles are hanging.
Yeah.
Okay, a longer torso. And slightly longer torso, and that means
Yes.
what for you as a swimmer?
For me, I mean, that's, I don't know, like,
Because you probably have bigger lungs, right?
Yeah.
Larger lung capacity,
yes.
longer torso. Okay. Shorter legs than average than you would. So to go back to your height, right? Stand up really fast. So given your height, right, you're going to have an advantage if your legs, we expect your legs to be like a certain length compared to your torso and your height on average, right? If we just picked every woman out in class who was like 5'10", if we picked 100 women who were 5'10", but if you have a slightly longer torso and slightly shorter legs, and your legs are really powerful, because clearly your legs are really powerful, you're going to have a little bit of an advantage. Like if you're like, if you shrunk like a half inch off your legs, for example, that matters at your level, right? Because it's about tenths of a second.
Yep.
Okay. Larger hands and feet. Are your hands large? Hang on.
Average.
Okay, wait. Here, hang on. They're as large as mine, but I have small hands. My wife has really huge hands, but they're pretty good size for, okay. But you need large feet, large hands. Why do you want large hands?
Large hands,
Yeah.
it adds to the distance of your arms, so it's further reach to the wall.
Further reach
And
into, okay,
wider
go.
hands means more grab space when you're
Okay.
going through the water.
Grab space going through the water. So you want that, and you want big, like really wide wings because you want
You want the length to the wall, yeah.
to. Okay. And shoulder, and you want
Broad
really
shoulders.
broad shoulders and strong. Look at your shoulder. I mean, you're strong, right? Like
Yeah.
my wife could never swim. My wife has really very small shoulders, and she doesn't have much upper body strength. And even as much as she works out and does things, she doesn't. Like she could never even begin to compete. Okay, shoulder and ankle flexibility.
Yep,
Got to have that.
gotta have that.
So if you have all these things, if we pick out, if you were to pick out, like, if we had 100 10-year-old girls, and we picked them out, and we picked the ones out, and if we measured all these things on them, we'd be able to say, this one's probably going to have an advantage in the pool.
You'd be able to make some judgments, yeah.
Yeah, this one's probably going to have a disadvantage, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you have a biological advantage as a woman who has a body type that's really, but also you've been working out. How long have you been swimming?
My entire life.
Like when did you start?
Competitively, my earliest memories is 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, 5-year-old.
Whoa, okay. Leah Thomas started at 5 too.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you have a biological advantage because of your body type, you know? Okay. So, but in the end, I forget who said this, it was some sports person. You probably heard this a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And what's that mean for you?
For me,
As a swimmer, yeah. That quote.
yeah, so the rest is 90% mental is a big part. Swimming, I feel like, is a very mental sport. So you can build, in any sport really, you can build up your muscles, you can build up the body type that you need, but if you don't mentally commit to everything you need to do, it's kind of hard. So the 90% mental is a big part.
So no matter what, you'd be the most ready to go, but in the end, you get to the meet or the race, and you're not there. You're not. It's not going to happen for you.
No.
Which is why have you ever done a race where you just blew your own time out of the water and you've never been able to meet that again?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You think, how did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so already now we're starting on this question of some people have biological advantages in the sport of swimming. So anybody who looks like that doesn't mean they're going to be a great swimmer, but it means they have a biological advantage. So if I'm going to bet my money on it, I'm going to bet my money on somebody who has a body type like this.
Yeah.
Right? So the men swimmers are on average 5 inches taller than the average man, and women 5 inches taller. You know, years ago I was in Doha, Qatar, and I showed up at, I don't know, like 1 a.m. kind of thing. I was staying at a hotel, and we got up for breakfast, and there were all these men walking around, and I'm like, what's going? Oh, hang on, there's something going on here. There must be some athletic thing, right? And I'm getting in line next to this person who's like 6'8", you know, and in the breakfast line, and all these people, and they were so tall, you know what I mean? And I finally realized that the guy was standing next to her was Djokovic, right? There was the tennis tournament, and I'm like, oh, there's Rafael Nadal and different people, and I realized they're all tall. And it's the first time it hit me that professional tennis players are tall. It's the same thing. It's the reach. It's same with swimmers, right? It's like that's all. I just wanted to throw that in there. So it matters. So people with biological advantage. Okay. So now let's go the next step. But we don't complain about that biology. No one says that it's unfair.
No.
For you.
No.
To be a swimmer, because that's just what you're born with. And the degree to which you built up muscles, you built those muscles. You didn't take drugs to build them.
No.
Okay. All right. So here. So we measure testosterone by nanomoles per liter. Okay?
Sure.
Men, it's 8 to 13. And women, it's 0.5 to 3. So what has to happen in order for Leah Thomas to build a certain amount of fairness?
The testosterone level needs to come down because it has a large effect on your muscle capability and your body type.
So we have to bring her. So Leah, this young woman we have to get her testosterone levels down to a place where it's like tying a weight to her ankle. In a way.
Sure.
I mean, it's not, but I think you imagine it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what the initially folks said, and mind you, by the way, I want to say this. I think I said it to you. I kind of said it already in the beginning of class. You know, these things we're just trying to get it right. You know what I mean? We're all. And when you and I were first talking about this, you're like, listen, I support Leah Thomas, right? Like, you really support trans rights.
Yes.
And I do too. And so do so many people. We're just trying to get it right. And Leah Thomas wants to get it right. Like, she has said very clearly, I don't want to be at a disadvantage. Like, I want to do this well. I want to do it right. I want to feel good about it. If I win a race, I want to feel like I really deserve to win the race. Yeah. But in order to do that, we got to bring her testosterone levels down. And so swimming, they first said, okay, we got to have it down to below 10 for 1 year. But then most recently, and that's what she did, but most recently, because of this, now, is it AEU Swimming or USA Swimming?
USA Swimming.
Yeah, they've said, okay, we're going to go down to 5 nanomoles for 3 years. In order for a person to compete at that level, you got to bring it down to, in order for a woman who was born as a man, in order for the woman to compete as a woman, we're going to bring those nanomoles down to 5 for 3 years. And once you do that, then you can compete. So how is that for you? Like, how's that sound? Like, what are people saying? Like, what are other swimmers saying?
Well, it sounds at least a little bit more reasonable from a female perspective, I think, especially from 10, just because we attribute so much to the difference between men and women to the testosterone. And if you're saying you want to level the playing field, then there needs to be a significant drop in that for there to be the fairness. So.
But one of the problems here is that I'm seeing, so this is a good thing, right? But we now did it with her, but this is a case of, we have like a test case of 2 people, but we need more. You know, I'm assuming that 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to have zero in on this measurement, and we're going to know exactly where we need those nanomals in order to make it more fair.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, we hope.
I mean, yeah. You hope that you get that kind of ability to compare and study, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I think on the
might
first
happen.
time around, when they first said it's got to be below 10, they were just shooting in the
that
dark.
was, I think, just a gut reaction, get a number out there to appease people.
Yep. To appease people, in order to really but not just to appease people, to make it fair. Like, let's try to make it fair. So we're going to bring it down. But now, where are we going to go? And I think this is the thing. This is what we're struggling with, right? In the meantime, however, if Leah Thomas is outperforming people like you, in the meantime, in these intervening years, it's not fair to you, right?
No.
Yeah, because it will be fair, like, for the next case in 3 or 4 or 5 years, but for you right now, it's not really entirely fair. One of the reasons is because she also had the advantage of living life, developing muscles and bones and so on with all that testosterone. So that's already part of it, right?
Yes, I was reading something recently about she got the chance to go through the male puberty, essentially, which means she has larger muscles, larger lungs, different body type in general, which makes it a little bit easier in the female playing side.
But now, in fairness, though, there are a lot of men who would try to swim at a competitive level who they don't have the body type, and you would just blow them out of the water because you could. I'm assuming you could beat any man in this class in a swimming pool. You could.
I've challenged a lot, yeah.
Yeah. I would assume that is there a man in here who imagines they could win a race against Kate? Anyone? Yeah. All right. So, but that's not the question. So there are so many men in here who don't have the body type.
Yeah.
But that's not the question, right? Because the question is not about them. It's about people who are competing at this other level.
Yeah.
So let me show you. Can you go to the next slide? So 5 years old, started competing at 5 years old, right? Started taking HRT, hormone replacement therapy, in 2019, and then competed in 2022. And those are some times. Did not recently compete in any long distance swims, right? So you see, went from. I don't know that I've heard different things about being ranked like 554th or 450th or whatever. I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that is.
Yeah, what does that mean, by the way?
Well, there's different things. It could be 500 in the country. It could be in USA Swimming. I don't know. I don't know what the category is for that one.
But presumably, as a man, was still a good swimmer.
Yeah, I mean, that would still. I mean, it'd be relatively in the middle. I guess.
With those rankings, is not going to make it to the Olympics.
No.
But is a good swimmer. But then we come down as a woman, and suddenly, like, whoa, right?
Yep.
So that would seem to me to say, hey, you gotta like. I don't know, right? But if I had to guess, I would say down the road, we're going to dial up that HRT a little bit because we got to dial down the testosterone and dial up the HRT because looking at those numbers, it's been a kind of an unfair adjustment. Or else you wouldn't see such a radical change like that, right?
Right, yeah.
So is that what people are talking about?
Yeah. That's a lot of the conversation, yes.
And so and it makes sense, right? And again, I think what I would say is that what I know of all my friends and colleagues and activists also in the trans community is like, they really do want to get it right. It's just that you can't get it right the first time. It's like so many things, right? We want to figure it out, but it's hard. And so, I don't know, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is like, okay, In the meantime, though.
In the meantime, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, anything else? I mean, forget it, don't think about being canceled. You haven't said, you're saying, you're being like, awesome. Just like, anything else that you would add to it? That you...
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's very complicated. There's one final thing, though. If we look at this next slide, if you can put the slide up, it's like, this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. I'm surprised at the degree to which Republicans and Democrats really agree on trans, all things related to trans issues.
Yeah.
And most people are very supportive, and most people want to try to figure it out, and we do. And I have colleagues who, I know people who are just really, really, really super conservative in lots of things, but like on this issue, they just feel really like, let children be children, and let's work it out. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, Penn State got you all got a lot of hate or a lot of email because everyone thought University of Pennsylvania is Penn State.
Yes, a lot of people do not know the difference between UPenn and Penn State.
Yeah. Did you personally get emails or just like?
I did not personally get emails. A few of my teammates got a few comments on like Instagram posts, which I may or may not have responded to. But other than that, I didn't personally get anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's such a difficult thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, awesome. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for like clarifying. Is everything I say is pretty much how, like the swimming thing, the body types, all
yeah,
that?
that's all very accurate.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Because I'll get the hate.
No.
All right.
We're very aware of the swimmer image, essentially.
Yeah.
There's a body type for swimmers.
You mean like, yeah, right? With the like really long arms and you'll have bloodied knuckles because your hands are scraping on the ground. Yeah, I hear that. I know, you really look at like Michael Phelps. His body is like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, if you knew swimming well enough, there's body types within swimming too.
Oh, right.
So
For like long distance and
Yeah.
short distance and stuff? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right, man. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, let's continue with this conversation in a slightly. So you've met Adi already, and you can sit, I guess, up here. And this is Sev, and Sev is, you probably know Sev because she's one of they are one of our camera operators. And we are both of you, so before we you can just put the next one up. Fuck. Jesus Christ, the very first time. Hey, we're also going to bring in in a second, we'll bring William back. So okay, Adi, can you say something about yourself and why you're here? How'd you get invited back? 2 times.
Yeah, I guess I'm iconic is what I could say. No, I'm Adi. I am a sophomore studying computer science. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm non-binary, so I guess that's why I'm selected again to come
They,
back
them
here.
pronouns and non-binary.
Yeah.
Okay. And Sev.
My name is Sev. I'm non-binary. I'm a sophomore. I'm a film production student, and I'm on the stream team. I most commonly use they, them pronouns.
You say that last?
Most commonly use they, them pronouns.
Most commonly you say that. Yeah, except when your professor doesn't. Okay, so what I want to say is, first off, let me just say the following. The reason for the class, the reason I called it what I called it, is because I see all of gender and sex as being very fluid. And I think we would all benefit from being more fluid in the way we think about gender. And I don't know if you remember even the very first day of the semester. Remember that photo I showed when I was like 2 years old, and I have a pink jumper on, and and I have my doll that I'm playing with, and like I was raised in that way of fluidity of gender, and I've always lived in that way from the youngest age. I've never understood this masculine, feminine stuff. It's never made any sense to me. So I really appreciate that. Do we want to? Okay. Hey, William.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
I can't see you, but it's nice to
Hang
hear
on.
you.
You can see me now. There you
Yeah,
are.
thanks.
Nice to have you back. And I'm going to turn Sev is going to turn the camera back and forth a little bit so you can see the class and you can see Sev and Adi.
Thanks.
So, William, why did we invite you back?
I don't know. My name's William, and I'm a gender queer person. I use he, they pronouns. So, guess that kind of correlates with the topic.
Wait, so you are in Moscow right now?
Yeah.
Let's remind
yeah.
the class. Wait, so you use he, they pronouns?
Yeah.
Not them, they.
Either of those. No, I mean, either he, him, or they, them.
Okay, I
just
got you.
switch from them.
Okay. Hey, so let me, I want to start with Sev. When did you first have the idea of thinking about gender fluidity for you? When did you first say, you know what, I don't want to be inside this box?
I think I was in middle school. Yeah.
Middle school? Do you remember like what happened? Like what did you see?
I didn't see anything in particular. It was just kind of like, hi, you're not a girl. I don't know. And it's like I didn't really understand the stuff behind it. Like I didn't really know a lot about the queer community or like things like that, any of its history, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of dawned on me like I was different, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Different in the sense that you just were like, I'm not in that box. Whatever that box is, I'm not in that box. And Adi, how about you?
So I kind of started thinking about it like rather later. It was like probably last year, to be honest, because I grew up in India, and in India, like usually you never think about these things because it is so like you have to like follow like be masculine, like you have to be a part of the performative masculinity in order to like show that you're a guy, and like it's like not really accepted in India. So it took me a lot of time to like come to terms with it by myself, and like that happened like last year. Like when I was a kid, I was like, I guess I didn't do a lot of stuff that like the kids that my guy friends used to do. Like they loved watching WWW. What WWW? What is it called? The wrestling? WWE.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
WWE.
Dude, that is such a gay sport, man. You ever watch? I went to WWE.
Yeah,
like their faces are in each other's crotches, and like, oh my god. I just assumed they were all gay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I just never liked it. I mean, I was like, yeah, you can watch WWE, and I used to just go to a like separate room where no one used to be, and I used to like watch Barbie Fairytopia because that is so cool. I feel like,
But
like
listen,
it has such a good storyline.
but
So-
there is an active queer community in India.
There is, and it receives a lot of hatred.
Yeah, Yeah. Okay.
So because I did not wanted to face that hatred, and I was a kid, I used to do all of it like alone in like a room where
Okay.
nobody used to see me.
Okay.
So, but when I came here, I got the opportunity to like kind of come to terms with it myself, and I met a lot of queer people, which was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, you know what? Gender is like, it's something like what gender has become. It is like it prescribes what you should do rather than recognizing who you are.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Oh,
If
yeah,
that makes
that's
sense.
good. That totally
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really feel like I'm a guy. I mean, I cannot associate myself with men. Like this is not. I'm not trying to be offensive.
Well, here,
but
hang
I
on.
just
Let
cannot.
me cut you off there. Let me first. I'm going to come back to this. William, tell when did you first have the sense? Hang on. I'll do this. William, when did you first have the sense that you were not inside of the box that other boys were inside of?
Well, looking back, there were like a lot of signs, but I didn't realize them when I was a child. So like, I've come to terms with myself. I think when I was still in uni, so like 3 years ago, something around that, I just became a lot more open. I met a lot of people, and I was like, well, if they cannot belong and be fine, I cannot belong also. As for me, the idea that you can judge people by their genitals is really weird.
So what Adi said, and what both Adi and Sev said resonates with you.
Yeah.
Tell us about the well, I want to come back. I want to make sure I want to ask you about the queer community in Russia right now. I know that the community receives a lot of hate also. But do people though how common is it in Russian, to use non-binary pronouns, so they and them?
Not that common. I mean, in Russian, I mostly use he, him, because Russian is a very gendered language grammatically.
Okay.
Every word is gendered. You can't just say I do things. It always implies gender of the person speaking. So saying they, them, using that in Russian, it's really difficult. So it's not that common even in I don't know, even in trans community, I'd say it's not that common to use they, them.
So do people then think about it's a big conversation here in the United States. So therefore, when you say no, they, them, that's fine for me. I sometimes use they, them pronouns. Is that when you're speaking English then, and speaking to Americans more so?
I just like, when I initially thought about my identity, I was like, well, I want to use he, him pronouns, and that was my like starting point. And then I was like, well, he, him is also a box, it's a different box, but it's still a box. So
Yeah.
I'm finding ways to implement they, them into Russian, but for now I mostly use that in English, and I started in English because it's easier and I understand it a bit more how to use it in English. So I'm like, it's my training ground, and then I'll come to Russian.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you can start. Hang on, let me do this. Maybe you'll start the movement in Russian, like figure it out. You know what I mean? Hey.
Yeah.
And so what I want to say to all three of you, I'm going to use they them for all three of you. Okay. It's just it'll be easier for me. And what I want to say is actually I'm gonna turn around to the class and say this so you can do this. It's just easier for me if I do this. Hey, I think I have this idea that all of this, everything is fluid. Okay, so when I think about, and I want to, if the three of you can add to clarify anything that I'm about to say here, if you could do that, that would be really helpful, because I'm gonna give my take on this. I think that it's all really fluid. Sexual orientation, we say, gay, lesbian for women down here who are just oriented in their natural attraction toward people who identify as women. Gay men just have a natural orientation to be attracted to feel some kind of way about people who identify as men. And then in the middle is everybody else, bisexual, pansexual, so bisexual, so when we think about this, it's bisexual would be a person who's attracted to either a man. There are so many definitions of this, but I'm going to give you the one that I think is generally accepted. You would be attracted to a man or a woman, or you would be attracted to a man. Pansexual is like, I'm not even doing the binaries. I'm not even doing the boxes. I'm just going to be attracted to anybody for any reason whatsoever. It doesn't matter to me. And I have this idea that in truth, most of us are probably really pansexual or bisexual, because in any given situation, we can be attracted to anybody. And most of us are not, because we've been trained and taught that certain things should be our attraction. So as a boy, I was taught, hey, naturally, the socialization in my life was just pushing me to be attracted to women. And the girls around me, where the socialization was pushing them to be attracted to women. But in fact, if left to our own devices, and if we didn't socialize, far more of us would say, I would just really rather use they, them pronouns, because I don't want to be inside a box, because I'm not really inside of a box. I actually want to be free. I would rather be free to express myself in the way that I would like to express myself. And I would be free to be attracted to a man when I want to be attracted to a man, and be attracted to a woman when I'm about to be attracted to a woman. And most of us would, if we would be attracted if we allowed ourselves. We really would. I did this thing. So first off, what do you, Sev, I'm going to start with you. Anything to add to that about just the fluidity of all of this? And
No.
nothing?
No.
Are you in agreement? Is that how you see it, though? Like the fluidity, like most of us would be here probably in the middle if we actually weren't socialized to be in a box. We'd be like,
I mean, I think that people would just care less. Yeah.
Yeah. Care less. Care less about making sure they were in one box or another.
Yeah.
And if they cared less, that would mean what?
So it could mean that they are like comfortable expressing themselves and identifying one way, even if like society or like whatever is like they contradict each other. They like if they feel that they don't agree with their gender at birth, they would feel more comfortable like exploring what genders they do feel comfortable with, things like that.
So, for example, if people started to refer to themselves with non-binary pronouns, like they, them pronouns, well, hang on, let me ask you this question. When you started using they, them, what did you discover about yourself?
What do you mean?
Just like, so I was about to say, if everyone did a test for a year, I'm going to refer to myself not with male pronouns, but with non-binary pronouns, they, them. And I wonder if I did that for a whole year, and if everybody called me, used they, them for me, what would I discover about me, about who I am? Who is Sam Richards? Like,
You would discover that you're comfortable with they, them pronouns.
yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, using they, them pronouns doesn't mean like, oh, wow, I'm non-binary now, like, whatever.
Uh-huh. But it means I'm not locked inside of a box somehow, and so therefore my thoughts and feelings can go to places that I didn't imagine they could go to.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I have that idea. Adi, do you have any, what would you say about that?
Which part?
The
specifically?
idea about if people, so the fluidity piece, and if more people were comfortable in this space, then we could all discover probably some things about ourselves that maybe we're afraid to discover.
Yeah, I mean, it would open them to a lot of new experiences, which it did for me. Like it would open them to a lot of new experiences, is what I'd say, because you've been conditioned to think that if you're a man, you have to like act a certain way or do something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to experiment and do the things that you like for like whatever time period you want to do, and you're comfortable with it, I guess you've grown as a person because of that.
So you are an example of a person who sort of came out of the closet, but coming to the United States. There's a way in which you
Yeah.
came out of the closet.
Yeah.
And what have you discovered about yourself?
Oh, I like myself like this way better. Like, I mean, I'm still in the closet in India, so it's really fun when I go back to India because I'm not like this when I'm
Yeah.
in India. So I feel it's just, I feel like when I'm being myself, I can express myself way better. Like, I feel like I can be very genuine. I can be funny. I don't have to worry about acting a certain way, because if I did, I would get in trouble. So I don't have to worry about that when I'm here. But when I'm in India, I have to kind of think about it.
Mm-hmm. And Sev, you had the opportunity to grow up in a culture that's much more accepting.
I mean, I'm like American, I'm African American, but I'm also like not American because both of my parents are immigrants. So like that, like it might seem like just because I grew up in America, that's like how my household was, but it
Yeah.
wasn't really like that. So my dad is Nigerian, and while Yoruba, he's part of the Yoruba tribe, and while Yoruba is like a very genderless language, the culture really is not. And like, you know, before colonization and things like that, it wasn't like that. But now that like happened, that's just how it is now. And you know, there are like traditions that my dad and my mom are just like, you have to adhere to this, like, because that's just how it is, you know? Like, there's no like questions about it or whatever. It's just like that's how it has always been for them. So that's
Yep.
how it should be for me.
Which is ironic, right? Because it's the introduction of Islam and Christianity into Nigeria that really shifted that. Yeah, because that's not traditional African cosmology and spirituality. Much more accepting, as in India, same thing.
Oh, no. So India is, I'm talking only about my experience. Like, it's getting a lot better in India for the queer community. But like before India was colonized, like Indian culture was so accepting of the queer
Oh my God.
community.
Yeah.
Like, we even have a transgender god
Yeah.
that people
Yeah.
pray to. Like, even now. But after Britishers came, they like put like Section 377, which is like criminalization of any homosexual activities or whatever. And after that, like, it just like put us behind after the colonization. But before that, like even in like the Kama Sutra, they have a lot of same-sex.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were really accepting, but then, yeah, Britishers.
Yeah, listen, that's leave it to the Brits and the Americans. Hey, so let me ask William, I'm going to ask you, if I could, a question. What I find is that people are really up in arms about a lot of these gender issues And we have like what is the thing? Is it in Florida now? Like you can't say
It's
gay.
like don't say gay bill.
Don't say gay bill and this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, come on, people. First off, do you know if we ask, I'm going to start with you, William. When we ask the American people what percentage of Americans, of people in the world are gay, and they write a number down, do you know what the average number is that people write down? William, what do you think it is?
13%.
13? That's what people think. Adi, what do you think?
I have no clue, to be honest.
Take a guess. 7.
I feel like people would say maybe like 20%, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go
Yeah,
for.
the average number is 25%. When it's like 3.5, 5 really. It's growing because as I just said, the more people realize they have options, that I don't have to be stuck in a box, and that I could be. I've been socialized to say like I could be attracted to a man if I want to be, or I could be attracted to a pansexual woman if I want to be, or someone who's completely not in a box at all, then I can do that. And then more and more people will realize that that's a. But William, what do you, as a gay rights, as a queer, I'm not going to say activist, but as a person who's in the queer community, like, what do you want? What do you want people to know?
Oh, well, again, like I said it about Russians before, and I'm gonna kind of repeat myself. There are many different queer people, and I actually, when I see some judgment coming, like, oh, this queer community, they are oppressing us again, and they want to take away our rights. I have never seen this queer community. I have queer friends. I know like queer celebrities, but for this queer community, I really would love to meet them. I know no such thing.
So the queer community that wants to take away the rights of straight people, of normal people.
Yeah, of cis people, yeah.
Yeah. I have the same thing. I don't know what people are talking about, really. Like, I honestly, I think people they get so riled up about something. I'm like, what are you riled up about? Like, whatever.
I mean, sometimes people say like, I met this queer person and they like bullied me, or they were really mean, unfair. Like, I don't know, they support strange things. But you have met cis people that are mean, that are bullies, and you don't say like, wow, I met one cis person who is mean. All cis people are mean. And for some strange reason, this is happening with queer people. If you see one queer people that is like objectively not a good person, let's say that in quotes, you just apply that to every queer person.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. This is the ism, right? This is racism, sexism, and so on. Yeah, I'm with you. Sev, what do you want as a person who's part of the queer community? What would you say following from that kind of question? Like, what do you want?
So I definitely agree with William, and I think I wish that people knew that, like, it's like totally cool to like come up and ask questions. Like, queer people aren't as like uncomfortable about talking about their identities as you may think, and like, having a conversation with people is fine, especially because queer people, aren't a monolith. Everyone is going to have different experiences. And, it's like as long as you're not trying to like debate us, like refute us, whatever, like a conversation is totally fine to have. If you like slip up, that's fine. Like, people make mistakes. No one's gonna like crucify you just because you misgender me. Like, that's like, as long as you respect my pronouns and do your best to use them, that's completely okay.
I was having a conversation the other day with somebody who was saying that she did not have a conversation with someone at her office because she thought she kind of had the idea that this person was identified in a non-binary way, and she didn't know what pronouns to use with this person, so she didn't have any. She ignored her, didn't talk to her, and I'm like, what are you doing? Just use a pronoun and see what it is, or ask them. It doesn't matter. You can mess up, and I mess up all the time, as you both know, because I keep messing up. I was talking with Sev before class, talking about William, and I kept messing up. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. There's no one who wants to do get it right more than me. Like, it's amazing. Like, I think it's fucking awesome, right? So, yeah. Adi, how about you? What do you like? What do you want?
Do I want?
Yeah, because people have the idea it's about using the bathroom. So you're they them, and you want to just use the women's bathroom, and you want to go in the bathroom, and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you
like they boil it down to that.
Yeah, but that, like, if a person is transitioning, like there is like psychological proof that they're not like cynical or like perverted. That's why they're doing it. That's not the thing. The thing I'd say is just, even if you like don't understand it, just respect it. You don't have to understand everything. If you just respect it, that's great. Like, you don't have to go out and call us names or something like that. Just simple. Respect it.
Yeah, just respect the difference, right? But you know what? Why do you think people don't respect it, though?
I mean, I have no clue. Like, even with when we were talking about the trans swimmer, like, I was just thinking, because I kind of read about it too, and like, if we talk, people are like bringing up the fact that they have the genetic advantage, but if that's the case, like Michael Phelps, he has like an abnormally large wingspan, and he produces lactic acid, which is responsible for the soreness of your body at half the rate than the other competitors, which gives him a genetic advantage.
But
So
it's a natural advantage.
yeah,
right? It's not.
It is genetic
unnatural.
because like the
Yeah, I
lactic
got
acid.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then why is he not being questioned, or like why is the question not being asked? Like, because trans men have been in the Olympics.
Well, yeah, right,
So-
exactly.
So why is that not being questioned? Like, the thing is that because they saw a trans woman beat a cis woman, it like kind
No,
of.
why don't we
triggered
question you? I'll give you another one, right? Why is it that in wrestling, you wrestle? Wait, hang on. We still have 2 minutes. Here's an actual really, I think, why do in wrestling wrestlers wrestle at their weight level? And boxing, you box at your weight level, but why don't we do that in swimming? Like, so people who, for example, if we go to Kate, like people who don't have your advantage of your body size, maybe they want to swim at Penn State. They're small, like my wife with her small shoulders, but like, why don't people get to swim against each other or compete against each other on basis of size? Okay, hang on 1 second. Hold on. We have 1 minute. William, your final words you got 15 seconds.
No, show some respect. Think outside of the box.
I love that. Wait, hang on 1 second. Can you give me a second? Am I crazy? Sev, 10 seconds. What do you want to leave us with?
Ari, would you like to say something?
I don't know. Just don't be an asshole, please. Just respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really got much to say there, so.
We'll repeat that. I'll say the same thing. Hey, thanks everybody. Yeah.